Good evening, everybody. Welcome back. Today is Monday, August the 10th, 2020. And it has been a day. Let me tell you what. We're going to wait for a few people to get in the room, but I'm not waiting that long. We got a lot to get into. Obviously, not a lot of time. I don't want to keep you guys here too long. I just want to get into the stories of the day. So, welcome to My Political Truth, and my name is Jerry Tomchinsky. Welcome, guys. I hope you guys had a great weekend. As usual, there is a lot to talk about. First off, as usual, I get completely sidetracked with what I was supposed to cover today and the stuff that I was going to talk about. Just before I came on, President Trump was on doing his daily presser, and about 3 minutes and 25 seconds into the press conference, President Trump was whisked off stage. There was a Secret Service agent that came up to him, whispered something in his ear, and you wouldn't be able to tell if they told him that dinner was ready or if there's a shooter right outside the door. The man handled it with complete professionalism and grace. That right there, the way he reacted, is a man that is completely confident of his security. He knows the hatred that he faces. He knows the psychopaths on the lunatic left side. If you think that President Trump isn't prepared, I got another thing coming. So, according to President Trump, he then came back on, I guess several minutes later, he came back on and stated that there was a shooting nearby. He didn't say where. They didn't get into any specifics. They just said there was a shooting nearby and that there was one suspect, and that one suspect was shot when he was engaged by law enforcement. Rightfully so. I guarantee you there's going to be a lot more to this story. But it's not much the shooter that is making me ask questions. I'm not overly concerned with the president's safety because I am fairly certain about the detail that he has protecting him. What I do want to bring up is, I said this the other day to somebody over the weekend at some point. I said, now that the left is in complete panic mode, watch for the distractions. Watch for the distractions. I personally said, watch for a mass shooting. I mean, listen, there was another law enforcement involved shooting in Chicago. Now we have this shooting situation outside the White House. Keep your eyes open. I promise you, they're coming at you to distract you from what's actually going on. And what's actually going on is that the lunatic left is losing their grip. They lost their grip on reality a long time ago. What they're losing their grip on now is the control that they thought that they had on these upcoming elections. First of all, let's get into the executive orders that President Trump signed, right? So, Alcoholics Anonymous Nancy and Schmuck Schumer did not want to budge when it came to discussing and negotiating the new, I guess, the third stimulus package, right? So, talks broke down, and President Trump then proved to these idiots yet again that this is not a poker game. This is politics. And the safety and the importance of his citizens comes first. Do you get that? President Trump does not bluff. He said he gave his people till Friday to reach a deal, and Nancy and Schmuck did not want to budge. They didn't want to budge. So President Trump did exactly what he said he was going to do. He signed four executive orders for what he thought was the most important thing for the American people. Now, what the Democrats wanted to do, and I promise you that there may be a handful of people that actually reported properly on what the president said that the Democrats offered. And their offers were ridiculous. They weren't offers, they were demands. They demanded. And you know that they were demands and not negotiations because they didn't want to budge from what they were demanding. Okay? So, what President Trump basically did was enact executive orders that benefited the American people and not the failing Democrat-run states. And that's one of the things that they were trying to slide into the stimulus. They wanted funding for every failing Democrat-run state. So it'd be New York, California, Washington State, Oregon State. All of those run by Democrats are in the toilet. And they wanted bailout for those states because those states don't have their budget balanced. They're in the hole billions of dollars, and they want to get bailed out by the same president that they crap on day in and day out. So you completely insult the man day in and day out. You basically wish for his death on national TV, but you still have the audacity to come with your hands out, asking for billions? Aren't you embarrassed? There's no shame in the Democrat politic game. There's absolutely no shame. They will destroy a state and go hat in hand to the president. No shame. And then they'll take that same president and rip him apart in the newspaper tomorrow for something else that they need to co-sign from Nervous Nancy and Schmuck Schumer. How are people not catching on to this? How are people not catching on to this? This is what else the Democrats wanted to slide into the stimulus plan, in case you didn't know. They wanted to ban, not just disallow, ban voter ID in all states. So they wanted it to be possible for people to go vote without presenting an ID. What can possibly go wrong? I mean, are they serious? Are they serious? They wanted to ban voter signature verification. So when you sign your voter card and the voter, what do you call it? Kind of like the affirmation that you were there that day, they don't need to verify your signature that it's actually you. So the same bozo could come in and sign 27 different signatures and it's okay. It's all right. Let's go to the comments real quick. Hi, Mom. Hi, Irina. Hi, Sherry. Hey, Shannon. Welcome, everybody. Let's see what Shannon says. I'm so effing heated about this effing shooting. Sorry for the language. How dare these people think they can do that to our president? Absolutely. I agree with you, Shannon, but I'm going to behave and react the same way my president did. And President Trump was cool as a cucumber. Secret Service whispered a little something in his ear. He looked at the camera or looked at the Secret Service man and said, "Oh." He said, "Oh." That's it. He didn't panic. He didn't lose his mind. He went right where Secret Service told him to go. And shortly thereafter, he was back. Hi, babe. Welcome. Yeah, Shannon, it's, I don't know if you missed the beginning or not, but what I was saying is we all got to keep our eyes open for all the distractions now, because the Democrats are losing their grip on everything. They are losing a foothold in the BS. Even the lying polls are beginning to show Biden slipping in the numbers, and the polls were never on. Yeah, absolutely. My wife just says we were dying laughing when he said, "Oh, we were cracking up," because he literally that was his reaction. Oh, like somebody just passed the note that Melania said dinner was ready, and he said, "Oh." I mean, you gotta love a president like that. I haven't seen the panic button pushed on CNN and MSDNC about this. Well, I mean, did anybody watch the reports on CNN and MSNBC after this whole shooting thing outside the White House? I haven't had a chance to yet. This all happened within the last, hour and a half here. So I didn't get a chance to watch those imbecilic channels. I'll do that later for a giggle. But, so yeah, moving right along on what else Nervous Nancy and Schmuck Schumer wanted. They wanted to shove the universal mailing down our throat completely. I don't know if you guys know, there's a difference. Oh, Sherry says that I missed something. Did someone try to shoot our president? Sherry, I guess you might have missed the beginning of my live here. About an hour and a half ago when President Trump was doing his daily presser, his Secret Service came up, whispered something, whisked them off stage, and he came back. There was a shooting outside the White House. I don't want to repeat myself, Sherry, because people have already watched it, but check it out. I posted on the page as well about it, and I'm fairly certain that I was the first person, including any news outlet, to post about the shooting. So I'll take credit for that. So yeah, they want to shove universal mailing down our throat, and it's completely different than absentee voting. Absentee voting is when you can't make it to the ballots for one reason or another. Universal mail-in voting is you have to vote by mail whether you're able-bodied or not. What can possibly go wrong there, right? My God. Democrats also wanted a stimulus check for illegal aliens. And on top of the stimulus check, they require the mass release of all illegals that are held in detention, and they want the mass release of violent inmates, including inmates in our penitentiaries for murder, rape. It doesn't register in my head that this is what they want to do. And they claim that they love this country? There was about somewhere in the area of 2,000 pages of demands made by the Democrats. 2,000 pages. And not one of them talks about benefiting the American people without benefiting illegals, criminals, terrorists, and anybody that supports these scumbags. And they claim that they're for the American people. Now, okay, so what President Trump did, these are the 4 orders that President Trump signed. The suspension of payroll tax by anybody making less than $100,000 a year. That puts an extra 8% off the rip, 8% in the pockets of people that have a job. Okay? 8%. Further protecting people from eviction. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm not super excited about this one because, and I'm just thinking like the renter here. And listen, I know we all want to think that people are good people, but we know the reality. We know the reality, right? Most people are maggots. So I'm thinking here as a renter that's going to try to use this situation to my benefit. I could see renters stretching out this no eviction thing until the end of, whenever Donald Trump's executive order expires. And then instead of paying whatever rent they owe, they pick up and leave, leaving the owner of the property high and dry. So I don't know if I'm very excited about that right there. Moving right along. Extending unemployment expansion benefits at $400 a week. Now, Chuck Schumer, the audacity on this man, the friggin' audacity on him, goes on George Stephanopoulos' show on ABC and says, well, $600, $400, he didn't do enough. What did you do, Chuck? What did Nancy, what did the rest of your damn party do other than make demands? How dare you say president isn't doing enough? He even wanted to sign a 1-week $600 extension to continue to negotiate, but the Democrats didn't want to do that either. So you have the balls to go on TV and complain that President Trump didn't do enough? And these liberal morons are out there, yeah, he didn't do enough. They believe him because they have no independent thought and no capability of free thinking. My God. Nothing. The Democrats do nothing for the American people at all. Jerry Nadler, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, over 170 years of service combined. Somebody tell me what they've done other than fatten their own goddamn bank accounts. Somebody, please, put one of their accomplishments in the comments section for me. Whether you're watching live or you're watching after, tell me one thing that they've done that has benefited the American people. The grossly incompetent and disgustingly unpatriotic Democrats were fighting this assistance for the American people in order to get assistance and funding for the wrong people. When are people going to just say enough is enough? When are people going to be tired of the same song and dance from the Democrats? When are their own people going to say, you know what? Enough's enough. These people don't do jack for me. They don't care about me except every 2 and 4 years when there's an election. And then they forget about me right after election day. Come on. The only person to have kept his promises that he made during the campaign is President Trump. Change my mind. Change my mind. This is a challenge to the entire world. Anybody that sees me, show your friend, show your mother, show your cousin. I don't care who you show. Change my mind. You know, Barry didn't do anything but to further his own damn agenda. W didn't do nothing. I give W credit. He was okay right after 9/11. He was the leader we needed. He wasn't too smart. He wasn't, too overly whatever. Wasn't too overly rah-rah. He was what we needed after 9/11. I'll give him that. But I learned a lot about the Bush family lately, so I really don't want to give them too much credit because you know what? The Bushes take enough. They don't need me to give them anything. But that'll most certainly be a story for another day and another broadcast. Let's talk about the violence going on because I like to do this every Monday. It's like a friggin' holiday. This is what I gotta talk about. I gotta talk about the violence going on in the cities, coast to coast, because the police have their damn hands tied. Well, let's talk about this. New York City, my home, the place that I'm from, the place that I love, the place that I thank my lucky stars that I do not live in anymore, is about to reach a very grim milestone. The number of shootings in New York City in 2020 is close to the totals of the last 2 years combined. Do you understand what is going on in New York City right now? We have no mayor. There is no governor. Hey, Commissioner Dermot Shea, get off your knees, boss. You're blowing your career. Another talking head commissioner in New York City. Another one afraid to stand up to Big Bird de Blasio, to Comrade de Blasio. Are you joking me? The collateral damage of the citizens of New York means absolutely nothing, right? It means absolutely nothing as long as we further this damn BS agenda of defunding the police. If you're going to defund the police, I say it all the time, can we please start with the Democrats' protection detail? Remove those police officers first. If they vote to defund any form of funding to law enforcement, you take away their detail first. They're so against it, they want to defund the police so bad, take away their goddamn detail. And I'm sorry for using the Lord's name in vain, but you know what? These people are driving me to a point where I can hardly contain myself. I'm getting censored on Facebook. Nobody that has the facts is allowed to say what they want to say. This is not the United States I grew up in. Shannon says, yeah, they won't get their own detail because they're too scared to walk on the streets alone. Of course they are. Of course they are. They're not concerned about us in the slightest. So that, you know what? Screw the citizens. Defund their police. And who suffers the most? The people in the minority communities. The people in the poorer communities. They suffer the most. It's unbelievable. These people in these communities are begging for the cops, begging for some kind of protection, and their leaders are completely ignoring them. Let's go over the shootings, shall we? About the kids shot first. New York City, teenager shot in front of her dad in the Bronx. A teenage girl shot in front of her dad in the Bronx. Think about that. But if I say all lives matter because this girl died, I'm the racist, right? A 53-year-old man was shot dead by a stray bullet while at a handball court in Crown Heights. You can't even watch a handball game anymore. A 36-year-old man was shot dead in front of his wife, again in the Bronx, for flicking a cigarette too close to the wrong group of savages. And I've heard absolutely nothing from the leadership in New York. Let's look at the comments here. Shannon says, they don't care. They don't think about them. They don't care about them. Kerry says, it's too late. The day has come with these people can no longer walk on the streets safely. They have dug their own graves. Yeah. You will get all told of all lives matter when you won't mind about people protesting for Black Lives Matter. Listen, there's a very big difference between the phrase Black Lives Matter, which of course Black Lives Matter and White Lives Matter and Asian Lives Matter and Hispanic Lives Matter, but the organization of BLM don't matter. They should be swept up, thrown in Guantanamo Bay for the next 15 to 20 years, and we can revisit this then. We can revisit this then. Seven cabbies in New York City. Not New York City, I'm sorry. 7 cabbies were robbed in Brooklyn in 1 week. 7 in 1 week. Now, these cabbies who risked their damn lives to put food on the table for their family got no protection from the city, and its leaders are now requesting a special hotline directly to the police. Let's see who's going to help them. Let's see who's going to help them. Let's talk. Since we're talking about New York, let's stick on the state and talk about this incompetent governor. Governor Andrew Cuomo on Monday shot down the idea of an independent probe into the coronavirus's tear through the New York nursing homes. Of course he shot down the idea, because he's the one with the blood on his hands. He's asserting that the criticism of his administration's response is purely partisan, meaning that the only criticism he's getting is from the Republican side. Okay. Fredo the First, Il Duce, understand this. You killed 6,000 elderly people by sending them back to nursing homes already positive for COVID. And this is a partisan allegation? It's the truth. It's the facts. You, Murphy in Jersey, Whitmer in Michigan, who else? I posted the 5 last week. I'm sorry, I don't remember it off the top of my hand. It is unbelievable. In his opinion, there shouldn't be an independent probe into his actions during the pandemic. Are you kidding me? We should string this POS up in the middle of Times Square and let the people who lost their loved ones, who weren't allowed to go visit their loved ones on their deathbed, let's let them decide. Let's let them decide what happens to him. I don't give a crap what he thinks should happen. I say every single person that lost somebody because of Cuomo's incompetence or Whitmer's incompetence or Murphy's incompetence or Newsom's incompetence, anybody that lost somebody, they should decide what happens to them. Ain't none of my business. I can't be subjective. I didn't lose anybody, so I would be probably like whatever. But I want the people that lost a loved one, because I know if I lost a loved one, Andrew Cuomo would not be getting away with this. There's just no way. He's the same kind of evil that has permeated the entire Democrat Party. And this is how I know that he's living in La La Land. In New York State, politicians on both sides of the aisle, both Republicans and Democrats, demi-rats, victim rats, whatever you want to call them, called for investigations into conditions that led to at least 6,400 COVID-linked deaths in the facilities, including what role a March 25th mandate from Cuomo's Department of Health barring homes from turning away coronavirus patients may have played. And Cuomo says, quote, "No, I wouldn't do an investigation." Despite the bipartisan support for a probe in Albany, the Demi-rat governor continued to insist that the calls for accountability are politically motivated. That's what he's saying. That because he's responsible for the death of almost 6,500 people, probably way more than that. He's saying that not his fault. He's not going to be held accountable. He shouldn't be held accountable. That it's only the Republicans that want him to be held accountable. I mean, I'm pretty sure I heard Democrats calling for an investigation also. He says, quote, "I think you'd have to be blind to think it's not political. Just look at where it comes from and look at the sources and look at their political affiliation and look at what publications raise it and what media networks raise it. It's kind of incredible." When a reporter raised the point that an independent probe could be just that, independent, Cuomo swatted down the idea as impossible. "There is no such thing as a person who is trusted by all Democrats and Republicans. That person doesn't exist," he said. I mean, yeah, I have to agree with that. 110%. I would have to agree with that. However, I still think that you can hire somebody that will show a modicum of professionalism while investigating this prick and the rest of these animals that were in charge of the states, that were responsible for killing the elderly. I think we need to hold all of them accountable. Real quick, I want to talk about what happened in Chicago. I'm not going to stay too much longer. So, there was a shooting, a police officer involved shooting once again. This time, the suspect was shooting at the police, right? In self-defense, they shot this man back and killed him. And then the people of Chicago want to go out and riot. And now, Mayor Lori Lightweight over there comes out and says that we're coming for you. Too late, Laura. Too late. I promise you the only reason she went on is because she probably had a business interest that was violated by these savages. Otherwise, she would have said this was a peaceful protest. I hope they come to all your houses, you scumbag Democrats and supporters of. Every one of you that voted these pieces of human trash into office should suffer the consequences. And I won't stop talking until that happens. I'm going to end this off with a quote. This is coming from a different source. This is coming from that KKK racist that Joe Biden said the eulogy of at his funeral, Robert Byrd. Robert Byrd says, and I quote, "It is money, money, money. Not ideas, not principles, but money that reigns supreme in American politics." Amen. Thank you guys for joining me. Listen, so because I'm getting censored as much as I am on my group page, I have created the My Political Truth page. It's not a group page, it's its own individual page. I sent an invite to everybody on my friends list. If you didn't get an invite from me, go into your search bar, type in My Political Truth, but look for truth to be spelled in all capitals. That's the new page. I'm going to keep this group going until everybody transfers over to the new page. So I'm gonna post links to it on the group page. I've already linked the group page to the new page, so you guys do what you can, get on there, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow I am gonna be interviewing the first Republican to announce his candidacy for New York City Mayor, Bill Pepitone. So Bill Pepitone, Republican candidate for New York City Mayor, will be on with me tomorrow. You might get 2 doses of me tomorrow, the interview and my live, because I still have a lot to get to that I didn't get to today. So thank you guys. Have a great night. Thank you as usual for the support. Love you.